Hogstyle.
Well, it had to happen, and it happened in the worst way possible, frankly, with this loss. But Washington's Cinderella off season, came to an end versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Uh, it's the Hogs Die. I'm Alex, Steve, Dave, all here with you. We'll get through this, folks. Uh, keep your eye on the horizon because that's where things get interesting.
I would just like to
So
point out that it was not a Cinderella off season. It would be a Cinderella season, most
I mean,
accurately
it
stated.
was both off season and season in
No,
a
it wasn't.
way.
It wasn't a Cinderella off season at all. They had the
Or
number 2 overall pick. They got the number 2 overall pick.
And
okay,
they
There
got
was
the
fair enough.
number
nothing
2 overall
Cinderella
pick
about that.
correct, too.
Yeah.
They got it right. Yeah, they didn't
Yes, they
draft
did.
Caleb
The
Williams or
Cinderella
Drake
part
May.
was the fact that they did so well during the season. That's the Cinderella part.
It was a Cinderella everything. How about that?
No, I
Cinderella
don't agree with you. It was not a Cinderella off season.
playoffs. Can we say Cinderella playoff run?
I said the season. That includes the Cinderella.
Okay,
that includes the
alright.
playoffs. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Listen,
We're going
regardless,
to
the
argue
Wash-
about semantics.
the Washington Jaden Daniels did a great job this year.
yes, the Fighting Daniels is
Fighting
Did a good
Daniels,
job.
there you go.
Might be
Yeah.
a better nickname than the C words.
it would.
Which
But
is
then,
not
but
going
then
to
it's
go
named
away
after
now,
the
but
former owner, who we'll talk about at some point.
Yes.
Yes.
And no, it's not going to go away, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately,
After
I
this
think
season.
that it's locked in at this
And
point.
which means I will never get behind it.
No. I'll probably get used to it eventually. It won't be for a while. No. All right, but we'll get into it. Let's get into the game. Washington comes up very short in the end versus the Eagles, but it was a more competitive game than the final score would have you think. Everyone kind of just quit in the fourth quarter, and
For a while,
things-
it was.
yeah, everyone
Uh,
definitely quit at the end, and the Eagles ran up the score a bit. But let's talk about it. Steve, of course, I'm sure you have all the numbers, so
I
let's get through the ugly numbers, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Final score is 55-23, as everybody knows. Jane Daniels went 29 for 48 for 255 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, quarterback rating of 72.8. He was also the leading rusher with 6 carries for 48 yards. Mr. Average, Brian Robinson, was 11 for 36. Austin
Hold on,
Eckler,
time out. You forgot our other passer.
I intentionally skipped him.
All right, fine.
I was going to get to him if
All
you'd
right.
stop interrupting. Okay. Zach Ertz was leading receiver, 11 receptions, 104 yards, including long 21. Terry McLaurin was 3 for 51. De'Ami Brown 3 for 42. Olamide Zaccheaus 4 for 26. It goes down from there. On defense, Jeremy Chin 9 tackles, Bobby Wagner 9 tackles, Jonathan Allen, Quan Martin, Mike Sandersill, Carl Davis all had 5. The sacks were 1 for Frankie Louvu, 1 for Dorrance Armstrong. Punting, Tress Way had 1 punt for 45 yards and also 1 completion on a punt for 23 yards on a gadget play. And that is Washington. Eagles, Jalen Hurts was 20 for 28, 246 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 no interceptions. Quarterback rating 110. Saquon Barkley was 15 for 118. Will Shipley 4 for 77. As a team, they were 36 for 229 yards rushing, 6.4 yards per attempt. Per carry, rather. A.J. Brown is 6 for 96. Dallas Goedert 7 for 85. And it goes down from there. Zach Bond had 12 tackles. That's worthy of mention, too. And that's stats.
So this makes Tressway 3 for 3 in his career, 61 yards.
Does he have 2 others? I had even forgotten about it.
In the regular season, in 2016-2018, he had 2 completions.
It was a decent pass.
Yeah.
Well, also a fun fact is Tressway now has more total combined passing yards in an NFC Championship game than Dak Prescott.
That's true.
It's a fun fact.
That's true. There's a lot.
random,
There's a
but
lot
okay.
of quarterbacks Tressway has outthrown in the NFC Championship.
That
now.
is true.
We gotta get
That's
that
true.
Dallas dig in there.
Yes. Yes. I mean, we can dig into Dallas a lot. They hired Brian Schottenheimer, for crying out loud.
We'll have nothing but time.
Yeah. we
That is-
definitely have nothing but
that-
time now.
That smells nothing but Jim Zorn all over, right there down there in the Dallas.
Yeah, a little bit of
Yes.
Zorn. little bit of nepotism.
I don't know, man. That's not quite at the level of Zorn.
Yeah, at least
Zorn
Schottenheimer's been an
all-time
OC for a
low.
long time.
Yeah, Zorn was an all-time low. Okay.
Yeah, Brian
Well,
Schottenheimer wasn't.
I'm just talking about this situation, how I got to Schottenheimer, because Dion basically just said no, and nobody else wanted to even interview because Jerry Jones is a control freak.
Yeah.
So and then, Schottenheimer is a great choice. Yeah, well, he's your only choice.
Jerry has only himself to blame.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. But we'll get into coaching stuff a little later too. That's also on our agenda. All right, let's talk about this game. I would say let's do some good, some bad, the ugly. But it was mostly ugly in the fact that the offense they had a good opening drive. I'll give them that. There was that long. They went for multiple fourth downs, kicked a field goal for the opening drive, but like ran 7 minutes off the clock. That's kind of, if you were going to win a game like this, you had to do that throughout the whole game.
Not once.
And
they had to get touchdowns.
Yes. Well, you have to get touchdowns too, but I meant more like you're not going to shoot out the Eagles. You got to keep them off the field.
That's what we said in the preview.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that looked like their plan, but fumbles came up, and that was a big problem. The lack of a running game, of course, was not as much of a surprise. The Eagles have a very good defense, stout against the run, so I wasn't shocked there. But those fumbles, man, those 3 fumbles killed them.
Allow me to be blunt.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Eagles are a better team than Washington.
Not a shock to say that, yes.
No.
And by the way, water's wet too.
Yeah. Exactly. But some of you guys out there deny it and, oh, no, they're better. And I posted some comment to that effect in our comment section just to stir up the morons in our comment section. And,
right.
Yes, it does. And I said, they should have lost. If Jalen Hurts had been healthy, they would have lost the second game also. And,
right.
Oh, no, that's not true. Look, Dallas or Philadelphia has probably the best defense in the NFL.
Right. They have the best O-line in the NFL.
Yes. Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels are probably a push. If you want to come right now, not to say in the future, maybe, when Daniels gets better, okay. Right now, I would give it a push. Their running back in their running games light years ahead of Washington's. Yeah. Their receivers are better than Washington's. They are a better team. They deserve to win. The only way Washington could have won is what Alex said. You make no mistakes, and you have long, drawn-out drives to kill the clock, keep them off the field. They couldn't do that, and they had a bunch of turnovers. The turnovers were caused, at least 2 of those were caused by the Philadelphia defense.
Right. One was a special teams fumble, which was
right. That happens. But but at least 2 of those fumbles were directly caused by Philadelphia. Right. Washington did not deserve to win this game. They lost to the better team.
Washington, this version of the Washington team, which I'm going to avoid the name, and the Eagles, if they played 10 times, I'd say Washington realistically could win 3 of 10. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
3 of 10.
You don't have great odds when you're not built to win this yet. And you know what? We knew going in, this team was not built to be a championship contender. They've way outdone what everyone thought.
They outkicked their coverage dramatically. But you cannot win a game. You can't have the 3rd worst rushing defense in the NFL and go to the Super Bowl. That is just not a thing. No. It's not going to happen.
I don't think it's happened very often, if at all.
Right.
And all these comments being made by you guys is not just being, people have to understand it's just not you guys being negative and down on the team. Obviously, it's all factual information. But what everybody has to understand, instead of getting frustrated at hearing all this, and understand what we did this year to get the NFC Championship game. We had opportunities early in the game against one of the best teams in the NFL. Got stripped away from us literally, by a much better defense. But we hung in there most of the season with every team, or just about every single team. And this is with a poor roster. There is not, I would go off to say, the quarterbacks are a push, but there is not a position on Washington that even remotely comes close to any position group on the Eagles. except for maybe punter, maybe, and that's about
Hunter, and maybe you could Terry McLaurin would be a starter on their roster, just like he's a starter on this roster.
I would take AJ Brown over him though.
Actually, you know what?
Overall,
I'll be honest with you. I think he'd be number 3 on this roster.
Yeah.
I'd take Devontae Smith over him.
I
don't know if I'd take Smith.
I would too.
Oh, absolutely. Devontae Smith, he's a precise route runner. He's a great 50-50 ball guy, and he's faster, and he's constantly making acrobatic catches on the sidelines all the time. I mean, and I love Terry McLaurin.
Described Terry McLaurin's entire career as well. Like that's.
Well, sure, but you also had Devontae Smith, who's what, like 3-4 inches taller.
That's true. He is bigger. Let me look at what is he? He's the same height. They're both 6 foot. Right. Yeah, they're basically the same player.
I definitely would take AJ Brown over him. I would have to think about Devontae Smith. Maybe I haven't really thought that.
I think if Devontae Smith was the number 1 on a team, he'd probably put up more numbers. But he's the number 2 there, so that's part of it too.
And look, I mean, Washington played a 4th place schedule brilliantly, but they didn't. The only good team they beat all year was the Eagles without Jalen Hurts. Can we be honest about that? I mean, the games they lost decisively to every good team they played. And I'm not trying to be mean and he's not a fan. I'm trying to be honest here and suggest that they did everything they could, but this year they were not up to snuff. They improved dramatically for 2 playoff games, and they overplayed for 2 to their credit.
Right.
But it just wasn't to be.
If you're talking about the regular season, the beating the Eagles that one time.
That was
the Falcons are a decent team.
Not a playoff team.
No, not a playoff team. But I'm just saying decent.
Decent, fine, fair enough, fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, the best win all year was definitely the Lions in the divisional round.
Oh yeah.
The Lions just weren't ready either.
Yeah. Yeah, they
also had like 13 injuries.
That very true. Yeah.
Their defense was decimated. And when you look over the season, it was like, when they played bad teams, they beat bad teams.
Yeah.
And when they played the really good playoff teams, in most of those games, they were in those games and they hung around. They weren't embarrassed. And that's what people need to really, they had that roster with a rookie quarterback, and they were, except for maybe a couple games, they weren't really embarrassed all season long, and they handled the teams they should have handled, and now they get to go forward knowing what they need to address, what they got to fix, and Payne or Allen, one of those two has got to go, and we need to get somebody in there to fix that run game, because that run game is atrocious.
It's terrible.
But that's one example of things they can fix.
The only game where they kind of got the doors blown off them was the first game, Tampa, in the regular season at least.
Yeah.
So like you're right. Like even they played the Ravens fairly close. The Ravens beat them by 7. So like it was a very good season, I think, overall in the end for them in terms of.
They made tremendous strides over last year, and they overplayed what almost everybody thought they could do. And exactly. And you have to applaud them for that. But I'm tired of hearing these people again in the comment section blaming the refs for this. Were there a couple weird calls? Sure.
There always are.
Yeah. And listen, Washington embarrassed itself on the goal line. Okay. The Frankie Louvu business, and 3 penalties in a row. That's crazy. They should be ashamed of themselves. And I don't blame the refs. I had never heard that rule before. The ref's going to award a touchdown, but it makes sense if you keep doing it, and the penalty is to move the ball literally a couple inches. That makes no difference at all. So at some point it's got to be over with. And so Frankie Louvu shouldn't have done that. And I thought the refs were right.
And it is a penalty, by the way, that's been verified that you're not allowed to do that in the end.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I mean, if he timed it right, it wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Yeah. Didn't time it right.
Right. The first time he just did it, he was trying to match the cadence.
Yeah. Second time he did it, just trying to match the cadence.
And you're talking about the refs, it's like when I sat down and watched this game at my brother's house, he's an Eagle fan. The one thing I turned around to him and I tell everybody is don't sit here and cry about the missed calls, because you could throw a flag on everything, on every single play. But on top of all that, quit bitching about how bad the officiating for the better part of the last 10 years. I have completely stopped complaining about the officials because where every missed call you think, oh, my team is screwed, trust me, there's a missed call that was done that benefited our team at the same time. The officiating has been bad for so long. It's gotten to a point now where it's like not only do you prepare for the opponent you're going against, you need to know who the officiating crew is so you can know what their tendencies are, and you could coach around that and prepare for certain calls.
Teams do that. They've been doing that for a while.
Well, I also think a lot of fans don't know what the heck they're talking about either. I mean, they're looking at it through a very biased lens. My team got screwed, and obviously, like you guys said, I mean, there's plenty of calls to be missed on both sides of this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just not an excuse. Stop using it as an excuse and conclude that your team did well this year and then got beat by a better team.
All that said about the reffing, though, I will say I'm all in favor of making more things reviewable.
I think every single thing on the field ought to be reviewable.
Right.
Why is anything not reviewable?
Right.
Well, the one thing they've been talking about for this offseason is like, especially with the roughing the passer calls and so forth, they're talking about looking at doing the replay assist like what college football does for those type of plays, targeting the targeting rules, stuff like that, where New York could call right in that pick up that flag that wasn't the penalty you thought it was, or if they missed the penalty, they can call down, get that replay assist right away, then throw the flag, and they say instead of the officials doing it in game time.
The only area where I will say that I think the refs did a really bad job, the AJ Brown fighting with
Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, with Lattimore. Thank you. Like part of their job as a ref is to make sure that doesn't get out of hand, and it got out of hand.
Yeah.
They screwed up in that respect of by the time Brown was pulling Lattimore's helmet, like there were 4 instances that you should have already gone up to these guys and told them to knock it off.
Yeah, I'm not debating it. I'm just saying people need to stop blaming the refs for the loss.
Oh, sure.
The best team won.
They did not lose just because of the refs. It's not like the Chiefs situation where that happens a lot.
When you lose 55-23, trust
There's not an argument.
The refs are the least of your concerns on that one.
Yeah. Now, there were some really impressive things that the offense did do in this game. That I know it's a bad loss, but Zach Ertz, you got to give him a lot of credit for 11 catches, 104 yards. 105-year-old Zach Ertz having a 100-yard game in the championship here against his former team.
Not that old. Isn't he only 34 or something?
He's 837 years old, Steve. He fought the Black Plague.
Man, we're going way back into old biblical times in Genesis. 800 years old, 900 years
fought in
old.
The Revolutionary War, 800 years.
He fought in multiple Revolutionary Wars at that point.
He must have fought alongside Wolverine, right?
Yeah, exactly. He kind of looks like Wolverine with the the facial hair and all that. But yeah, he's 34 in real life. But he had himself a great game. Says he doesn't want to retire now. He wants to come back and keep playing with this team if they, will resign him. So, I guess credit to him there. The one other thing though, man, Philly has our number when it comes to covering Terry McLaurin and shutting down our receivers in general.
They've got Darius Slay is back there.
Yeah.
He's an elite corner.
Yeah.
And there have been many instances when McLaurin has not been able to do very well against Slay or other elite corners.
Yeah.
And they know, these teams know Washington can't run the ball.
Right.
They know that. And they also know that it's Terry McLaurin and a bunch of other guys for the most part. Yes, Dyami Brown has looked good, at times, but for the most part, it's Terry McLaurin and these guys over here. Right. And so they, if they stop Terry McLaurin, they keep Jane Daniels in the pocket. That's a hard thing to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a big part of it.
And the offensive line does not help.
No, the O-line doesn't help. If you got Terry a second receiver who was legitimate, it would open him up more.
Absolutely.
I think,
And if you and like I thought the Eagles did a great job on getting pressure on McLaurin or on Daniels rather. I don't know if we're ready to admit they need to continue to rebuild the offensive line. especially if Sam Cosmi's out for the whole season. I mean, how long is it going to take for him to get back?
An ACL. Everyone tells me I'm crazy for saying it's still a year injury, but I think it is.
Not everybody is Adrian Peterson or RG3 who are back in 5 minutes, and RG shouldn't have come back. And as we now know,
RG3 should have been out most that year.
Personally, I think the only player on the offensive line they need to keep is Tyler Biadasz. All the rest of them can go. Right. I'm not counting Cosmi because he's hurt, but all the rest of those guys, Brandon Coleman, probably right tackle, not a left tackle.
Or guard.
Guard, right.
Coleman's got to be guard because he struggles against elite edge rushers. He just he just cannot get a good angle and position on them at all. And you saw that entire game.
Yep.
I think Nick Allegretti is average. He's a jag.
He's fine.
Basically. Yeah. He's fine.
But that's what guards are for the most part these days.
Mm-hmm. There's a few that are elite, but 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 my point is, in this game, you really saw it a lot when you're facing an elite front four like the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem, and we saw that on Sunday or Saturday.
Luckily, this is apparently a very good draft to help build the lines in. I know we're not going to do free agency now, but I've started looking. For the free agent market's not very good right now.
Alex is going to have 532 different mock drafts.
I've already got 3, to be fair.
I haven't done any.
I've done 3 mock drafts, and I've kind of broken down a full mock off season. If you think I have a problem, it's not a problem.
Get help. I haven't even done our outline of the off season yet, and Alex has already got
I've got a spreadsheet. I told you guys I twisted my ankle the other day, so I was working from home, and when I work from home, sometimes things get a lot more quiet. So you start making spreadsheets. Anyway,
I don't know how you even do audio visual a conference room from home personally, but
I can monitor. I can't really do a lot else.
Yeah, I know. This doesn't help.
I see something's broken, and I call up the guy at work. I'm like, hey, this one's broken. Okay, bye. All right, okay. So I think we've kind of covered the offense at large here. They have some work to do for next year. But all right, let's talk about the defense in this game. That first play, good job, guys. Really
wasn't that complicated play. It was just an off tackle run.
Yeah,
anybody knows he broke 3 tackles on that run.
Yep.
Jeremy Chin. One of them was Wagner.
Jeremy Chin was one, I think. 2 of the the most accomplished defenders they had. I can't remember who the third one was, but I mean, you're not going to give up plays like that and win games,
right,
in the playoffs. And it's not, the thing was, we might have said this. I know we said this at some point during the year. I think if I were any team playing the Eagles, the answer is sell out on Saquon Barkley. No matter what happens, Saquon will not beat us, and make Jalen Hurts become a pocket quarterback. And Washington was utterly terrible at that. They didn't stop Saquon. They're lucky he was like banged up or whatever his leg problem was, whatever he had. He only had 15 carries. It would have been worse.
Yep. Yeah. So he had 15 carries, just a humble 120-ish yard.
Yeah, I know. You just can't win like that. I'm sorry, but you can't win like that.
No. You can't give up 7 rushing touchdowns and win a game.
And defense-wise, I mean, Marshawn Lattimore has been a bust, okay? I'm sorry. The guy has not done well all year. I get he's had an ankle problem and everything, but has he beaten an elite receiver yet? Could somebody tell me?
An elite one? No.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
Well, see, I mean, we all know hamstring injuries take more than a few weeks to stop. Once you have a hamstring injury as a corner during the course of the year, you're never going to get 100% during the course of that season.
Then put him on IR.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like 80% Lattimore is basically having Benjamin St-Juste out there. So at least with Lattimore, you have a chance for an interception with Lattimore.
That's true.
I mean,
Benjamin St-Juste will be leaving Washington, I believe, with 1 on his career. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but it's not a big number. Lattimore did not play well. It seems like most of what he's been doing in the playoffs has been picking fights with guys, which is a strategy.
Probably frustration,
Oh, absolutely. absolutely, it's a frustration thing.
I thought that the defensive front four at times got some pressure on Jalen Hurts,
but not enough.
Not enough, but they did a decent job at that. Right. And Hurts wasn't able to rush a ton. He was 10 for 16 on the ground. So that's good. I mean, his completion percentage is 20 of, what was it? 20 for 28. And so that is 71%. That's not good. So, I mean,
not good for Washington to be
clear.
There's
no part of the defensive performance here that was in any way worthy of winning the NFC Championship game.
No. Frankie Louvu, who you were kind of mentioning earlier with the whole jumping over the pile thing, he really has been the only bright spot on defense for the most part, though.
Yeah, I can't give him credit this game. You get 3 penalties in a game.
He got 3 penalties, but he did have that sack of Jalen Hurts earlier that stopped a drive.
I know, but you balance it out, man.
I know. By the way, there was a small part of me that was hoping that he would just jump it after the warning to do it, just to make them award a touchdown without giving it to Hurts. Like, I don't know how that gets scored. I was just going full match.
If you do it again, I would be tempted to throw him out of the game if I was refs.
Well, here's the thing. The first 2, like you said, he was just trying to time the snap. It wasn't like an intentional malicious thing.
I get it, but had you done it a third time in a row, I mean,
right,
you gotta
go. He didn't. One of the linemen flinched instead. So, anyway, I don't know what else there's to say about the defense.
It's not. I mean, look, they need major help.
They do.
We're gonna get we'll get into free agency, and all that at some point here. Maybe this week, maybe not. But people need to understand that Bobby Wagner is a free agent.
Right. Yep. Jeremy Chinn's a free agent.
Jeremy Chinn's a free agent. Those 2 guys, along with Louvu, is signed, but there's going to be major decisions to be made on this defense. Jeremy Chinn is one of the good ones. Jeremy Chinn came out of nowhere to me, and he proves it every week. Aside from getting run over by Saquon, which isn't, he's got good company on that one.
Right.
He's been great pretty much for the most part all year.
Yeah. Latimore's probably going to be around just because of his contract.
Actually, no, that's not true at all. He has no dead money next year at all.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought he had dead money.
He's got $18 million cap hit and no dead money.
Well, if you listen to Peters when he made that trade, he specifically said he's a long-term acquisition, so he'll definitely be around. That doesn't mean that's the truth, though. Possibly, but I do have faith that I think him and Sanderson will make a nice pairing going forward. I mean, because there's too much that Lattimore done in his career just to think that next year he's not going to do anything. Until I see next year he becomes a bust, I still think he's going to be one of the premier corners in the league until he proves me otherwise. But right now, they need to find a Jordan Davis to put alongside Newton and Payne and/or Allen. Payne or Allen, one of the two has pretty much got to go. But you get someone like Jordan Davis in there, that's a guy right there who can push the pocket. Mm-hmm. And he can also stop the run up the gut right there. So it's just we don't have that. We completely.
They need a lot, man. They don't.
Yeah.
I liked what Dante Fowler did overall throughout the season, but that's not a long-term answer at pass rusher either. Right. There's a lot that they need. And again, we'll get into that when we start talking about free agents.
Right.
All right.
I got distracted by dogs. Sorry.
That's okay. I got distracted by my wife texting me. Apparently, a small plane crashed at National Airport just a few minutes ago.
We certainly wish the best for whatever that situation is.
Yeah, that's never fun when planes crash.
No.
My concern was big plane or small plane? Small plane. Okay.
The point is, I could contribute to this, but since I missed the last 2 minutes of it, I don't know what you said. And so we don't need to repeat it. The fans heard it.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. Let's just wrap up talking about this game, and we'll, I guess, do game balls. It's the final game of the year. We have to do game balls, right?
I appreciate the fact that you did not ask how we felt about the game, because you know what I would have to say.
Yeah, I made that mistake last time. I'm not doing that again. I brought the whole show to a screeching halt 3 minutes in.
Did you think I was going to lie about it?
I should have known better. That's on me. As someone who's done a podcast with you for 10 years, I should have known better.
Did you think I'd lie? No.
Yeah, no. I might think you're going to say something completely wrong, but you're not lying about your wrong opinion.
I would not. It wasn't an opinion question. It was like, how do you feel? You know?
Yeah. I should never. First off, Steve should know he doesn't have feelings.
I have no feelings. I was born without human emotion. Everybody should know this about me.
All right, let's.
Dave's looking at us like you guys are total morons.
We are. Well, we are. But he knew that.
He signed up for this.
Well, I mean, it's got to be said too. At the same time, that this team didn't look fully prepared for this game. They completely were undisciplined most of the game. You know, they had no ball security. I mean, there was one fumble that I saw on Dyami Brown that was done perfectly by the Eagles because his left arm was being held from being able to cover up the ball, and Zach Bond punched it out. All the other fumbles, all the other turnovers could have been prevented if they protect the ball.
I thought the Eagles caused 2 of them, and I think I might have written this in my column this week. I thought that the moment was a little bit too big for them. The Eagles acted like they'd been there before. Washington looked a bit over. I guess we need to say it before we move on. I thought Jaden Daniels was overcome by the moment a little bit. His stats weren't terrible. Don't get me wrong. He didn't throw 5 interceptions, but he didn't really rise to the occasion. And granted, it was the defense, but we've seen him overcome defenses before. He didn't do that in this time. I think it's a learning experience for him, and they'll be better next year.
There's a little thing
too big for the moment
I've been paying attention to with Jaden Daniels, and it's chicken and the egg. When he is on the sideline smiling and having fun, he plays better. But granted, he's on the sideline smiling and having fun because the team's usually playing well. So, the better they are, the better he plays, and it cascades.
Which is human and natural.
Right.
Well, see, also, in the first half, I think they had, 3 possessions? 4 possessions. And in that second quarter, they had, 1 possession that carried into this beginning part of the second quarter, and he didn't touch the ball until almost a minute and a half left in that second quarter.
Yeah,
it was just insane. I mean, he couldn't even get rhythm together, even if he wanted to.
I think I saw somebody put it this way: he got them to 14-12, and then he didn't touch the ball till they were down by 27 or 27-12 or whatever.
And to conclude this, I just wanted to say that I think it was worthy of saying, and I'm not trying to be negative. They'll get better.
Right.
He's a rookie, but
it's a great learning experience.
But
Dan Quinn in his post-game or postseason press conference said, you need some scar tissue to grow, and that's what this is.
And I didn't think they had a great game plan either, to be honest.
Maybe not.
Yeah, but I mean, the bottom line is you can't win football games with 4 turnovers.
No.
And they gave up touchdowns. The last time they did that, they got away with it through some incompetence on the part of the opponent. But this time, the Eagles put touchdowns on after these things.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so we'll do game balls. I can go first. I think it's obvious that Zach Ertz gets the game ball from me for the offense. 11 catches, 104 yards. He basically was the offense for the most part. He became, he was the go-to target on, I think, half the first downs third and fourth down type plays. That was the go-to guy all season or all game. On defense, I'm going to do it just to annoy Steve. Frankie Louvu gets my game ball. And Frankie, next time the ref threatens you, punch the ref or jump. Just do it. Go nuts.
Nobody who got 3 penalties is getting a game ball from me.
No,
for me,
know.
Saquon Barkley definitely deserves a game ball. He was the best offensive.
One run to open
he was the best player. I mean, it was over almost from then. It was deflated instantaneously. And defense, I mean, nobody on Washington deserves a game ball at all. So I think I'm going to give it to Zach Bond, who had 12 tackles, in this game. And I think probably what needs to happen is, who's the best person for this? I'm going to say Brian Robinson needs to go present Zach Bond with the game ball because Brian failed. 11 carries, 36 yards, in part because of Bond. So he needs to present the game ball and bend a knee to him.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Another thing to talk about in the offseason, running back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dave.
See, offensive game ball. Hey, listen, man. When a punter has a passer rating of 118.8 or 116.8, he's got to get the game ball, right?
That's totally fair.
I mean,
give it to the GOAT.
There you go.
He's always a good. He's always a good one to default to when there's nobody else to do.
That is very, very true. And then as far as the defensive game, I don't even know where to go from here.
I told you it's hard.
It's tough.
It is very hard. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with I'm going to pull with Steve on this one. I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean. I'm going to give it to Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. They're going to share that game ball because those two are a fantastic pair of corners. They really are.
All right. They yeah.
You're welcome, everybody.
You're welcome, guys.
Right.
And Dave, do you want to pick somebody to give them the game ball as well, or no? You're just gonna.
For Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Yeah. I think I'll have Zach Ertz, since he was a former Eagle, walk up and give it to him, just because he was a former Eagle. That's all.
So you're being nicer than me. I usually have people who are embarrassed by that defense have to do it. That's my strategy because I'm just a jerk like that.
Oh, yeah, I know. I get that. But I think Zach Ertz. Why
you
not?
Have a valid
former
strategy.
Eagle. Yeah,
I'm not criticizing.
It's not a terrible strategy.
I just like to embarrass and humiliate people. That's all.
Yes. Which is amazing, Steve, because that really should make you an Eagles fan. Because, if you saw any of the video of the Eagles after they won.
I didn't see 1 second of it.
They did their normal Eagles fans thing. They were
burn cars,
harassing Washington fans as they were leaving, stealing guys' hats and running away, and burning cars, trashing downtown. Unfortunately, a kid from Temple died. He climbed a light pole and fell and has passed away.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Now, Dave, they were greasing up the light poles. I remember during the last Super Bowl run. Did they forget to grease up the light poles? Is the question.
They certainly did not grease up the light poles this time around. But I will say this: as I told you guys off the air, there's a guy that I know pretty well. That's a actual who's a city cop down there.
Right.
Diehard Eagle fan, but he was absolutely rooting against the Eagles. And he'll be doing it again in the Super Bowl because of one thing. He said for 1,000 people that are there, 30% of them act like criminals. They act like thugs, he said, and everything under the sun. They're trashing everything. I mean, it's just insane. And he has to be there to help deter all that, to help separate all that. It's absolutely insane what that city does.
I don't think it's possible to pay the downtown Philadelphia police force enough money to do what they do.
Well, Steve, I say this from personal experience. The Philadelphia police force commits about 5% of the crime.
Oh, they're part of the problem? Is that what you're saying?
The only time a friend of mine was ever robbed, it was a cop who robbed him.
Oh, that's
in
lovely.
College.
It's Philadelphia. It's a city of hate. None of this surprises me. We predicted it. We said it would happen. Everybody knew it would happen. Yep. This is what Philadelphia does. I mean, Dave is the only decent human being in the city of Philadelphia.
They will burn cars in victory and burn
Dave
cars
and Dave's
in joy.
family. I'll say that. I don't want to insult the wife or whatever. But
now, did you either of you guys see the whole? And they were using this as camp fodder or whatever, or not camp fodder. What do you call it? Bulletin board material kind of fodder. Somebody dressed the Rocky statue in Redskins paraphernalia.
I did not.
That was done apparently by a scorned Packers fan. Yeah. And his wife apparently was a Redskins fan. And he had decided to go ahead and do that because one thing I made the comments to everybody in Philadelphia, especially the Philadelphia media, I said, listen, there is not one single Washington fan, one, would take their Redskins things like that and put it on that statue for one. That's not happening. And two, if they did do that, they're taking credit for it. They're going to be in the video. They're going to be on the picture, and you saw none of that. So I'm like that, and then it wound up breaking out. It wound up being a scorned Packers fan that wound up doing all that.
Can somebody please tell me why a movie prop has become a legitimate city landmark?
Because they don't really have a whole lot else. I mean,
is that it? I mean, because it's a movie, but it's Rocky. I got newsflash. Is a fictional character, not even based on any true story. Right. It is a completely fictional character that did not exist.
But they made 5 movies about him, or 7 now. I don't remember how many Rocky movies.
Yeah, a lot. I don't know why it's become a thing.
Well, see, the worst part about it is that they have, what was it? Bernard Hopkins is a Philly native who is one of the better, if not one of the best all-time boxers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and yet you have a statue of a
Sylvester
movie boxer.
Stallone. Yeah. I mean, a movie prop looks like Sylvester Stallone badly.
Because Philly, they did something in 1776 that everyone remembers.
They cracked
not a whole lot between then and the 1970s when Rocky came out.
Anyway, it amazes me.
Yeah.
That is a thing.
No, it was a funny bit, and it was cute when they just stuck it outside of the stadiums back in the day. Like when I lived there, it was down by the stadium. Now it's outside or it's not national, but the Philadelphia Art Gallery.
Isn't it where it was in the movie now?
Kinda. Where the steps are. It's close to the steps.
Yeah.
But
see,
you guys are crazy. Just for the not you guys. You guys listening who care about the statue are nuts. That's all.
And see, and the point that I always talk to my fellow Philadelphians here is, I get it. It's a great movie, Rocky statue, all that stuff and everything, man. But
you have a two are good.
Yeah, but it's like you have it's like we have here in Philly, we do have a history of good to great boxers in this city. Mm-hmm. And this is what we hinge on. This is what we cherish.
There's a lot of Philadelphia boxers. It's not just Bernard Hopkins.
Right, exactly. But I'm just like, because you can even go to Joe Frazier for crying out loud.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking of him exactly.
Yeah, it's like I'm just blown away by the fact that we have to cherish this
a movie. Isn't Joe Frazier one of the best boxers of all time?
Absolutely.
You know.
So Steve, are you saying there's no statue of Tom Hanks from Apollo 13 in Houston?
I'm saying that, yes. There's not a Tom Hanks statue. No, there shouldn't be. He's an actor in a movie. No.
I mean, okay, if you did a statue of the actual Apollo 13 crew, it would make more sense.
Yes, at least that would be, honoring actual history.
Or since I Googled it, RoboCop 2 takes place in Houston. There should be a statue of RoboCop in the Houston Mayor's Hall.
Anybody would know what that was? Sure. Yeah, let's do
You don't know what RoboCop was?
No, I do, but a lot of people wouldn't know what RoboCop is.
I don't want to meet these people. I don't trust these people.
There is not a 15-year-old out there who knows what RoboCop is.
And this is why our country is doomed. You need to. Every 15-year-old should watch RoboCop.
I think other reasons beyond RoboCop.
I think watching movies that warn against, the impending doom of like economic disparity, like those are helpful. And it's also got a robot.
Talking about football. Where'd we get off on this tangent?
I don't know. All right, let's talk about football. All right, the Bills lost to the Chiefs. Everyone, be happy, I guess. I don't know.
No, I was very upset. I cannot stand. I'm sick and tired of the Chiefs. I'm sick and tired of seeing the wives and the girlfriends
Eagles,
of the Chiefs.
Such a boring Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I always root for the NFC, so I'll be rooting for Philadelphia. But I mean, I can't with this Super Bowl.
Somebody asked me. I really don't want to root for either of these teams. It's very.
I'm an NFC guy, and I'm rooting for the NFC.
You're one of those old school traditionalists. I get it. Yeah.
And your response on the Chiefs and Mahomes is exactly why I've been wanting a three-peat all year long. Unless the Lions got there, Lions I would have wanted to win because they haven't had one. Outside of that, I've been hoping for a three-peat. What kills me is that a lot of people that I talk to, and even on the web and all that stuff, there's like, oh, it'd be cool to see a three-peat. Never seen a three-peat. It'd be great to witness it. Now you have an opportunity to witness it, and nobody wants to see it.
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm good.
Hey, listen, man, I'm all about the Chiefs in this game. I want to see that three-peat.
I feel like all right. I saw the Patriots win a million Super Bowls. I don't care if they missed one after winning
I
two.
cannot look at another shot of Taylor Swift jumping up and down. I can't mentally handle that.
Yeah, that plays a big part into, I think, people's contempt of the Chiefs. The generally annoying Taylor Swift, Patrick Mahomes' wife. Like, I don't care about them.
That's why I said the wives together, because them two, and even Kelsey and all his antics, and they have this stupid podcast. It's I just can't with them.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
All right. I forgot to make fun of the mayor. ELGSES. Oh well.
Well, we'll go backwards. And
okay, so the mayor in Philadelphia can't spell, which is fun. And I say this as somebody who's a terrible speller myself, but
you're not an elected mayor of a major city.
No, I'm not yet.
City either. I didn't see this clip, but I think it's very funny that the mayor of Philadelphia forgets that there's an A in the word Eagles,
yes.
and then mixes up the G and the L.
And then she also adds another S.
No one ever said the mayor of Philadelphia was intelligent, though.
No.
I would argue she's probably more corrupt than anything.
I don't know much about the mayor of Philadelphia right now. I
do know you're not going to get elected in Philadelphia without being a corrupt politician.
You're not going to get elected in any city without being corrupt.
Well, what's funny is that after the first Eagle touchdown, my brother, I was watching the game. He went to play the Eagle fight song, and when he went to do the chants, I screamed out EGLES. My brother was like, "Do I look like that dumbass mayor? Do I look like her?"
It's kind of funny. I wish I had
the same outfits.
It is kind of funny. I gotta admit. I mean, I didn't see it, but I wish I had.
It was.
Google it. It's very funny.
I will give her credit. The following day, she actually made fun of herself and had a good laugh out of it.
Well, so that's good.
She did. She at least had a good sense of humor about it.
I think after her press affairs, people probably came to her and said, "Ma'am, you said it wrong." What? What do you mean? You spelled it wrong. Well, we got to put out a press release about this. No. This is you got to.
No, the right thing to do is go and make fun of yourself. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like the whole Ryan Seacrest thing. And if you don't know what that is, like, Google that too.
I don't know what that is either.
Everyone made fun of Ryan Seacrest for when he was on what was that show, the America's Got Talent. Yeah,
it was American Idol, right?
Whatever, they're all the same.
No, America's Got Talent. He was on. I think it was that one.
Yeah, and everyone would make fun of him, and then so he embraced the people making fun of him and made fun of himself to fuse the situation.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's what you do. Anyway, all right, let's talk about. Do you want to do the Dan Snyder article? We'll save that for last. Cliff Kingsbury is not going anywhere. He shot down the Saints. Not interested in an interview, so we'll mention that real quick.
I think that's good. I think
it's very good for
Washington's coaching staff intact, particularly in offense. I'm not too wild about their defenses, just generally, but the offense, they need to continue building and letting Jane Daniels grow. Improving things in players, but keeping the coaching staff, I think, intact is a pretty big deal.
It's so hard on defense because it's much roster as anything else too. It's obvious that the roster's under talented, but the only guy they might lose, it sounds like, is the assistant quarterback coach David Blau, who is interviewing with the Bears and the Jets to be like the head quarterback coach there.
Yeah, that's so what? Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, the assistant quarterback coach really, I mean, they're going to lose some. You don't win 12 games and all of that and keep it totally intact.
Even if you lose them, you have Marcus Mariota there, who's kind of an extra quarterback coach. You
don't have Marcus Mariota there. Actually,
in theory, they're going to re-sign them.
And you also have Brian Johnson, the actual quarterback coach there too, as well. So.
Right.
Is that the lead singer of AC/DC or is that the football coach?
That'd be the football coach.
Oh, okay.
Both, actually. They have both coaching. I don't know why Brian Johnson is there singing and yelling at Jaden Daniels, but,
if he was yelling, you wouldn't be able to understand what he's saying. He's got a thick Australian accent.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. All right, so let's talk about that fun little article ESPN put out about Dan Snyder. Guys, I know it breaks your heart to hear this. Dan Snyder is just not happy. He's not a happy man right now. He was very upset to see how successful Washington was now that he's gone. He's just living in a hotel in London, it sounds like, while he's trying to build a house. And just, hanging out, melancholy. I have like the Charlie Brown sad music in my head, thinking of Dan Snyder walking down the Thames, or however you pronounce that stupid river of theirs. Yeah.
Well, first of all, we need to pull this article up and cite it so people know what the heck we're talking about.
Okay.
So I'm doing that here as we talk.
I'll continue to make fun of Dan Snyder. He's short. He's gone gray now. He's probably got that stupid beard that doesn't look good on him.
And may I offer to people in London? I know he opened up some investment group.
The Dan Snyder Investment Fund. Yeah.
Everyone out there, please research. Take about 5 minutes to Google search his business history.
Right.
Before you actually do any investments with him.
This is a man who funded a Trump movie recently, thinking it would be a pro-Trump movie. Didn't read anything about it.
Does he not know who Hollywood is? I mean,
right.
Well, okay, so apparently his daughter's husband was one of the producers,
which makes it even more crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is ESPN has this: how Dan Snyder views Commanders' title run from afar. He hates it, by Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta Jr. January 25th. So this is the column we're talking about. And the tone and tenor of this is that he's bummed out,
right?
By all this. And I can collectively say on behalf of everybody, good, and I hope he's miserable.
Right. I've heard some people are like, I don't care, how he feels. I've moved on. No, I want him to stay miserable for the rest of his life.
He ruined the franchise I used to love.
Right. Yep.
Through his own ego, and his own incompetence and self-centered behavior. I don't know where he fits in the pantheon of horrible American sports owners. He's
Number
way
one.
down there. You could go Don Starling with the Clippers was really bad.
Yeah.
The lady with the Cincinnati Reds, what was her name? Marge Schott. In the 70s, she was terrible.
You could put George
too.
Preston Marshall on that list.
Yeah, he was bad too. He didn't win anything, and he was a racist. But
he did win things, but he was
eventually he did. Yeah, he didn't win a lot though. Is my point. But my point is, rank him however you want, but Dan Snyder's in that group. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And I hope he's miserable. I don't know why his wife hasn't divorced him yet. I mean, what does he have on that lady?
Well, he probably has a great prenup. So
prenup, yeah.
Well, he still, cash the prenup in and go be happy, lady. What was her name? Linda? I can't remember. Nor do I care. But
Tanya.
Tanya. That was it. Tanya. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this column goes into a little bit of detail about how he was. Here's the thing to take away. Okay.
There were some interesting things in there. It's not just Dan Snyder's is a sad clown now.
Chris Larry and I both said when we went over this in detail on the business show that he was not going to be happy, because I realized after looking at the numbers that what he was going to actually get is less than $6 billion.
Right. Yep.
And we knew he was going to be unhappy. But what was very interesting is this article goes into detail about this and says that 1 and 2 in the morning on the day before closing, the night before the morning of closing, he was talking about tanking the entire deal because his ego is so enormous that the final purchase price was a shade under $6 billion. That is the type of scumbag human being you're dealing with. And it was really Joe Gibbs was among the people who finally talked him into doing it. That blew my mind.
The thing that blew my mind, and this is part of it, the Dan Snyder antics of here's how I'm going to keep the team, like the little plans he came up with at the last minute.
It's just it's the panic, dying. It's cartoonish. It's like the panic actions of somebody.
I'm not going to give them my bank routing number so they can't send me the money, and thus I don't have to sell.
Speaking as someone who does deals every day, that is ridiculous.
Right. I don't think that. I'm assuming that wouldn't hold up in a court because there would be a court thing.
Well, you would be in default, and the opposing party would try to get a court to order the sale. Is what would happen.
Right. Exactly. Like it wouldn't work. The other funny one was he was gonna claim that he had a drinking problem when all the bad things happened, and that's what was the problem.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah. That's nuts.
And he doesn't have a drinking problem now. Mind you, Dan Snyder is a famous heavy drinker, and was, through like most
we
of
made
his
fun
time
of him
there.
for years for his drinking in the office, and
Right.
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 that was a
a
central
common
key
joke.
part of the Hogsty for a long time.
Yes. So like he didn't quit, but he was gonna float that as a story to try and save his ownership, which is just insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So on behalf of everybody, screw that guy, and we hope you're miserable.
Yep. Screw that guy. Let him go and live in his yacht.
But everybody needs to read that column. If you haven't read it, it's crazy. So you need to read it.
Right.
Now, Kay Adams asked RG3 a very interesting question. If Dan Snyder was still the owner of this team right now, after the success that they had this year, which you probably wouldn't have had the success anyway, but still, do you think that this success would have been sustainable going through this next offseason? RG3's answer, I think, was right on the money.
What'd he say?
What he got? Well, what he said is, in that year, I mean, there was a lot that went on. Obviously there was a lot of highs, and rookie quarterback being him, and the future looked bright, all that stuff. But he was kind of naive to all that, basically because he had no idea who Snyder was. So of course going into the off season, he was behind the 8 ball, obviously because of the ACL and everything. But then he realized just how dysfunctional that organization was going into the offseason. They had no cap money whatsoever. The management in there weren't even aligned, where you have now in Jaden Daniels, you have all the cap money. You have both the owner, the GM, and the head coach and the offensive coordinator. They all are behind Jaden Daniels as the guy, and that wasn't the case when he was there. When he was drafted, not everyone was all in tow for RG3, and no one was all in tow in terms of, how the organization is going to be run going forward. So he said, and I agree, that Dan Snyder owning this team going forward probably would have never sustained because of how he ran the organization.
I do agree with all that. I think the one thing that RG is leaving out of this is that his own ego contributed to his downfall. And it didn't sound, from what you said, it didn't sound like he would admit that part of it.
Oh no, of course not. He's not going to admit that. No, he's not going to admit that.
But we would be disingenuous to say he was partly responsible for all of that as well. But I agree with everything you just said, or he said that you quoted him on. It's if he probably didn't know what Dan Snyder's craziness, ego and all that. And, they didn't have any cap money if you look back on it. They did have a running back, in Clinton Portis.
Mm-hmm.
But they had major problems, and it was with Dan Snyder it was gonna fall apart. And the other thing is with Dan Snyder, they wouldn't have gotten some of these free agents, key free agents. Frankie Louvu wouldn't have been there.
Sure.
Bobby Wagner would never have come to a train wreck of an organization like that. Well, so the pieces wouldn't have been there.
And I'm gonna go out on a limb. Dan Snyder would not have wanted Jaden Daniels. Dan Snyder would have wanted Caleb Williams.
He would have traded away the moon for Caleb Williams.
He would have traded multiple future firsts just to move up to that one spot.
Exactly. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which is an excellent point.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, or maybe he would want Drake May or something. Well, I don't know.
It wouldn't
Dan Snyder always had weird.
It would have 100% been Caleb Williams. I mean, he was a DC guy. He's the number one. Dan Snyder, it's him and shiny toys. He would have 100% traded away like 15 years of draft picks to move up one spot to.
And he wouldn't have.
And he would have screwed him up. And he would have screwed. Oh, Dan Quinn wouldn't have come to an organization like this.
No.
Like that.
Dan wouldn't have been the guy.
No. Oh no.
I don't know who it would be if
it wouldn't have been a good coach. I'll tell you
that.
No,
after you fired Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
It would have been a mess. So, God, there's a hypothetical. Like, just sit there and build a roster for last year.
Why are we going through this? Let's not torture ourselves with this.
It would be hilarious. Like, if you broke down and did that as like a column, that'd be funny. I feel like, but
I don't have the energy for that. I'm not going to go backward. I'm not a go backwards type of guy.
No,
I'm not doing that.
None of us really are. All right, but yeah.
Read the column, everybody. That column was really good. Read the ESPN column.
Yeah. It was a very good column by Kay Adams. The last thing, we are right around time, excuse me. But there was a little thing, Dave sent it to Steve and I. Somebody did a 3D rendering. I don't even know if it's an official like building company, but a 3D rendering of
You
a
mean
possible
an
stadium.
architect?
Yes. Well, architect would,
Yeah.
but it's like Clark Construction is usually who does that thing, the like image. It's not the architect sitting there drawing
It's
that
the
up.
architect. Trust me, it's the architect.
Okay, you think the architect's doing 3D videos now?
I'm thinking the architect is the one that did the design of the stadium, which is
Okay,
the highlight of what you're really talking about.
Right. So there's a design for RFK. Some people love it. I don't particularly like it, but I hate.
I thought it was ugly as sin from what I saw, but that's
I'm gonna hate anything that's a dome, even though I know it's gonna be a dome. So I'm just gonna accept that. So,
but that's the thing. That was kind of like a faux dome type of thing. When it was they had like these wooden, well, like I guess they described it as wooden beam structures over top, and I think it was still air. It was still opening up through there. I thought it was
the In Vogue thing, and you saw it in SoFi and what's the stadium in Vegas? Is this
Allegiant Stadium? I will be there to see AC/DC play a concert.
Right, but the in thing now is you're basically building a stadium, then just building a glass thing over top the stadium. Right. That seems very popular now.
I am here for dome stadiums.
We know you're pro dome. I'm anti-dome. It's a thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Dave is dome neutral.
I don't know. Dave has never expressed an opinion.
No.
I don't know if he is neutral or not.
Well, actually, no. I love the outdoor stadiums. I'm all real big for that. But I've actually never been in a dome stadium for a game yet. I've never experienced that.
I have. I was in the Lions Ford Field in Detroit for a Redskins game. I'm totally here for a dome. Make it comfortable, please.
But irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Dome, no dome. When they make that new stadium, I'll be priced out of my seats anyway by then.
Probably because they'll make you pay a PSL.
Seat license.
Yeah.
There'll be PSLs. It'll be a dome.
I've said this before, but yeah, people need to get ready for this.
Yeah.
Washington will build a new stadium. When that happens, the only way they'll be able to recoup all this is to sell PSLs. They might not do it for every seat, but they're going to do it for every good seat. You might be able to get in the 400 section without a PSL, maybe, but PSLs are expensive. They're hard to market. If you want to get rid of them, get ready to pay.
I mean, PSLs cost like what a new car costs, right? Like it's an insane price.
Depends on they're graduated depending on where they are in the stadium.
Sure.
But it can be a lot, like car priced.
Yeah. So enjoy that 1%, All right, let's wrap this show up as we talk about that ugly stadium, and we'll just say, hey guys, it's the off season, and just start following me on Twitter and whatever other social media things. I'll just be posting random mock drafts from here on out.
Well, let me say also, I mean, we're going to continue. The show will stay on Thursdays as it was last year. We're not doing the Saturday, Monday thing anymore, and we're going to do Super Bowl coverage next week. Yeah. And then we'll get started on our off-season plan after that, which means I need to draft it and come up with the plan before then. But that will be a thing, and we'll do that.
And we need to double check the math and make sure, because like last time, I think I
screwed it up last time. Yeah. I had like a couple position groups twice, and I will hopefully pay more attention this time.
Yeah, it's fine. We made it work.
We got through it.
Yep. It's not like anyone gets hurt.
No, it just causes consternation. I go, oh man, I already did linebackers.
Yeah, exactly. And then we just scramble for an episode.
Was... pretty much.
All right, guys. We will talk to you all next week as we preview the Super Bowl. Later.
See you.